Hello, we have Dr. Ken Thompson here from DePaul University in the left, and then we have Thomas Walter of Tasty Catering on your right. They're here today to answer some questions from Dr. Ibrayeva's class. And the first question is, all of these companies seem to have all of the elements of an entangled organization, and it is a given that a majority of these elements are integrated so that if you have one, it is impossible not to have the others. However, I am curious to know if in your research or study you found any real organizations that not only have some of the elements, or if you feel that it's even possible to have some of the elements. Additionally, I would like to hear of the challenges that you might see in developing the components of an entangled organization on an international level and how they might be overcome.
Who's that question from?
That is from Emma.
Thank you.
Okay. First, I want to thank, we met the good doctor at the Midwest Academy and also at Fred Luthon's Festdrift about a month or so ago. And it was a delight to be able to interact with her and delighted that she's using the book. To answer the question, and this is how I kind of use the book in my course, we're trying to look, are there variables that are the same or applied differently across organizations? We do use the model a little bit at the end, but I'm more concerned, what are the leader behaviors that create engagement, entanglement, and what are the structures there? And do they differ between organizations? For example, IPM uses a very strong ethical component. And to me, that's important for their organizations for the particular reasons of the geographical spatial differences and because of the nature of the business. As we see the importance of doing other things for engagement, as we see in SRC and some of the other companies. Can this be applied internationally? Yes, I think so. But at this stage, we're looking for these common behaviors, leader behaviors, and structures. How well they fit, at least in one sort of culture. But are we looking towards maybe looking at more international differences? Yes, I'm working right now with several people from China and seeing how they might be applied there.
I think that to amplify on that, if we were to do it into an international organization, I think it would have to start at the team level and gradually build up to a division level, whether it's in one country or 2 countries or 3 countries. But I think that most companies that exist, most organizations that exist internationally, have some of the components, and they're actively working with those components. But I believe some of them that are missing high engagement don't have all of the components, all of the 8 elements. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson and Tom. I have a second question here from Andrea. Andrea asked, I had some further thoughts on the geographic locations of the companies written about. What struck me as odd is I seem to remember reading in the introduction that the authors went far and wide looking for good companies and doing research. Did they start by observing many companies and cut a lot from the book? If they did look far and wide, did it strike them as odd that all of the companies they found with high employee engagement could be found in just Missouri, Illinois, or Indiana? Could we find similar award-winning companies with high engagement on the East and West Coasts? Did the research discover regional differences?
I think the best way to approach this answer would be that all of the companies came to us pre-qualified. We knew that the companies had all won national awards for employee involvement, best place to work, or the Malcolm Baldrige Award. Dr. Thompson is the senior examiner for the Malcolm Baldrige Award. And in all these instances, they had to match severe criteria and had to do rigorous exams to be able to achieve these awards. So already they were qualified by the time we started to examine the companies. We actually examined 9 in detail and a couple more that were just at the surface. We realized they weren't to the engagement level that we wanted to use in our study. But they were concentrated around the Midwest, and that was because of a dollar issue. This was not a grant process. This was not a prepayment from a publishing company. This is primarily self-funded because we wanted to do it our way and follow our own criteria in finding out what makes a great company from an employee engagement perspective. So we focused on companies that we could spend a lot of time, it was sometimes 3 to 4 days, sometimes 3 to 4 investigators doing the evidence-based research. But furthermore, after we did a couple of companies, we found out the traits, the strains, were common. So every company was answering the first 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions accurately, exactly right. Then we wanted to find out the differences within those companies. So maybe the concentration in the Midwest was based on finances, but we're more concerned about the quality of the companies. Probably there were 80 plus companies that met the quality level. They had high employee engagement, high employee entanglement. But we want to just focus on a broad spectrum of industries or organizational types, such as nonprofit, retail, professional firms, construction firms, women-owned firms, union workforce, and that's why we chose these companies. The ones that were rejected also would have been very nice. The ones that were not included in the book also would have been very nice to explain, but then the book could have been 500 or 600 pages long.
I'd look at it as exploratory study, looking at a very select group through the criterion that Tom talked about, as we again try to look at what was different or the same, what are the environmental factors that led to these company executives making a decision towards wanting to promote employee engagement as a way, if you look at the Gallup work, to create customer engagement in the process. We also look at Hackman and Oldman, the job design factors, autonomy being one, but the 5 different factors there that are important. And looking at how these relate, and Fred Luthon's positive PSYCAP, the hero dimensions there, and how these companies, what behaviors and structures again they did that created that degree of engagement in the organization. So yeah, it is centric to the Midwest, but I look at this as as Tom said, some of the financial challenges with the study, but at least exploratory, and as we get more people involved, we look at trying this not only internationally, but even at different areas. We've had calls from companies such as the Lab Zero in San Francisco saying, yeah, we'd like to participate in this as well. So we are looking at other if they meet the criterion. Thank you for your questions. I thought they were interesting. And hopefully you enjoy the book, and hopefully will make you think more as you look at your own organization, saying what elements do they do, what behaviors do they do, what structures help to create a good environment for employee engagement, or what are those things that maybe they could do to make it happen.
Thank you for keeping us on our toes with those great questions.
Mm-hmm.